Once we've got the environment set up just the way that we like it, it's time to turn our attention to the manner in which we are going to deliver our content. I'm going to start by talking about your vocal variety. It's absolutely key that you take into consideration that the same dynamics that you would utilize in a day to day conversation in an interpersonal setting, you want to bring those characteristics and traits into your video recording. In other words, you need to maintain your level of vocal variety that you might utilize when telling a story to a friend or a neighbor. Your vocal variety focuses on four primary elements: the volume, pitch, rate, and overall dynamism that your vocal delivery encompasses. For volume, it's key that you're certainly loud enough for your audience to hear you, but you don't necessarily want to be shouting. If you're speaking at such a high level of volume, it becomes a lot more difficult to articulate your words, your feelings, and emotions as you're trying to encode the best message. Next, let's think about pitch. The pitch is the range of your vocal dynamic. Whether you have a high pitch or a low pitch, it's usually best to try to find that your pitch is somewhere in the center of both ranges. You do want to consider varying your pitch and tone from time to time to add increased inflection on some of your more dynamic points. Next, there's the rate. Rate is the speed in which you are delivering your content, the pacing of your delivery, if you will. Certainly, you'll want to speak slow enough for your audience to be able to understand what it is that you're having to say. However, if you speak too slowly, chances are they'll grow distracted and potentially even bored of your relatively slow delivery style. On the other hand, you don't want to speak so quickly that your audience can't follow along. I recommend having a relatively moderate pace or rate, as I'm trying to demonstrate in today's video, but certainly there's opportunities to speed up or to slow down depending on the nature of the content. Usually I have a pretty simple rule for this. If you're presenting content that your audience will find relatively elementary or straightforward, those are good opportunities to speed your rate up. However, if you're delivering content that your audience is going to find very important or critical to the overall message, those are good opportunities to slow your rate down and ensure that everyone is on the same page with those concepts or ideas. And then finally, there's the overall dynamism of the delivery itself. And really, what this encompasses is the idea that you want to create range across all of these vocal varieties and techniques. You want to vary your pitch and volume, and you want to vary your rate. The dynamism, or in some cases the enthusiasm or your ability to encode effectively, can really bring the message to life. And the goal of video presentations is to bring your message to life with a very personal touch. Your vocal dynamism is exactly how you can do that. There's sometimes some questions about what is an appropriate style of movement or gesturing for video recordings. For the most part, you're going to want to keep it relatively subtle. If you'll notice, I haven't been moving my hands very much in today's presentation because if I were to, it's going to get really distracting. You may want to gesture from time to time, especially on points that you really want to emphasize. But for the most part, as I've tried to shoot today, I've kept my hands out of the frame, and at best, I've only moved my head left to right a little bit to encode some of the messages that I've had, or I've leaned forward or backwards to demonstrate my particular enthusiasm on a point. Overall, gesturing can be important, but you only want to utilize gestures when you think they're really necessary. On the flip side, you have facial expressiveness. Chances are your audience's primary attention if you're on the screen is going to be on your face. So you might as well use your face effectively to help encode your messages. Think about how important it is to make great facial expressions when you're in an interpersonal or one-on-one dynamic. Our audiences rely on the way that our face looks to infer how it is that we feel. If you're trying to demonstrate seriousness or happiness, sadness, anxiety, pressure, urgency, whatever the emotion that you're trying to convey is, make sure that your face reads that. It's very important that our face matches the content of our delivery. So I encourage you to try different delivery styles with different facial expressions to get that message just right. And then finally, there's your posture. It's important that you're sitting up straight in your video delivery, and some of you might even consider presenting in a standing up fashion. I recommend not sitting in traditional office chairs or kitchen chairs because what happens is we tend to sit further down in the seat, and it doesn't put us in a position where we're holding our posture upwards. You want to make sure that your shoulders are square and that you're presenting and facing the camera in a manner that looks both professional and natural.